Hello, in this video we're going to be looking at different ways that you can deliver your instruction online. So far in our course we have had different assignments that are modeling different types of instruction that you can use, and we're going to look a little bit further in this module. Okay, so you can take this perspective. You can say, well, what do I do in my face-to-face courses, and how can I translate that into my online courses and amplify it in my online course? So that's one perspective you can look at. There's a lot of face-to-face techniques that we can emulate in the online world. The first one, of course, is lectures. So mini lectures, these screencasts, these type of things you can put together. We've had a lot of practice, at least looking at it. You can also in Blackboard do group work. There are ways to set it up, and I do have instructions in this module on how to do that. Of course, when you're teaching online, there is an infinite number of video and audio that you can pick. Same thing with the readings. Of course, the only thing is make sure that what you're using is fair use and not behind a firewall or something. And finally, you can do different types of presentations, not just PowerPoint. There are other things like emails or Prezi, or there's a lot of interactive animation type things that you might want to look into doing yourself or have your students do. So let's take a deeper dive into screencasts and mini lectures, as I call them. Why would we want to do this? Well, first of all, these type of lectures provide a high level of flexibility because people can see it when they need it, they can review it. It's just a very convenient way, and the idea is to not have them go too long, as I've said before, so it's also not going to have any kind of cognitive overload, which can happen when you're having a live lecture and it goes on. Students' minds drift, but if you have them in short little segments, it's more likely to hit them. And then you can rewind, you can review, you can pause if you didn't get something. So it's excellent for all students. In particular, a lot of my students who are ELL, English language learners, have told me that they really appreciate being able to do this. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can use your existing presentations and you can do a screencast over them. There is also alternate video that you can pick from YouTube or wherever, and you can record over them also. There are some tools that you might want to look at and try. EdTed, which is from TED Talks, takes different videos that are in TED Talks and you can make them more interactive, stopping and pausing with like quiz type of questions. There's also Zaption, which I just found out has been bought by another company, so let's see what the future is with Zaption, but I do have an example for you of how to make a reading interactive. And you can also use some of the tools that we have in Blackboard, like Kaltura Capture Space or Camtasia. And also Kaltura has an ability to embed quizzes too, which is a good idea for self-assessment. And we have how-to videos on doing that. And then finally, you can do a web-based screencasting tool. I like Screencast-O-Matic. It's like 15 bucks a year, so not a bad deal. What else can you use? I'm very fond of finding open education resources. This is the new buzzword. That is because, as we know, a lot of educational material is super expensive. So students definitely appreciate this. The one that has been around for a long time is Project Gutenberg. They have 50,000 free ebooks from the classics. You can find what you like. Give it a look. OER Commons is another place to look for these type of resources. I like MIT OpenCourseWare. They've been doing this for over a decade at least too. They have MIT course content is basically put up online and free for anybody to look at and use. OpenStax also has access to different college textbooks. You just simply have to Google OER and you'll start finding a lot of resources. Another topic that I'm just going to look at briefly is the idea of group work. Well, here in Blackboard, you can have these interactive type of tools already right there. It's pretty easy to get started, like with wikis and blogs. So in your course management tool, you can see I have these little outlines of where you would go for users and groups, and also where would you find blogs and wikis. And there's also how-tos on this. Outside programs outside of Blackboard that you might want to take a look at, Lino, sticky notes and photo sharing, Etherpad. I'm a fan of this one too. This is a really nice way to collaborate in real time. And Padlet, of which I have an example in our module, this module. So for video and audio and different types of presentations, podcast. I'm a big fan of using podcasts in the classroom. Again, there is just a ton of stuff out there for free. Library of Congress podcast, iTunes podcast. Students can construct their own podcast. You can try Audacity. There's YouTube, needless to say. And of course we have ngVid. For presentations, PowerPoint, or you can use, a Google presentation. But I like to try more dynamic tools. I like eMaze. It's a little bit more visually attractive. Prezi is also very nice. It allows students to zoom in. MS Sway is another tool that's pretty professional looking. And S'more, which I've already introduced you to. So these are easy to use, free, and you can link to them within Blackboard very easily. So this is just to give you a quick overview of some ideas that you can use to make your online course interactive. Thank you.